no idea.
Good morning.
Good morning, Tim.
Morning.
How are y'all doing today?
Good.
Be better if once the SPY starts dropping.
I know it's taking its time, ain't
Well,
it? DXY just bounced this morning. Been watching it, looking at it as a gauge for when it'll happen. Just broke above its EMAs on the 5, but ran into the 180, so I want to see if it's going to break through that or not. Um, for the most part, the SPY is trading below its EMAs on the 5 minute, so I want to see if it stays there or if it gaps up. Last night I tried working on um, the trading log in order to add the DXY to it. And when you use the TDA Ameritrade or TDA API, excuse me, it shows no data for the $DX. So I'm actually on support chat with um, TDA Ameritrade now to see what's going on.
Let's see, Romeo's down to 1180.
Yeah,
yeah.
it was losing momentum last I looked. Um, so those puts would have worked to leverage the pullback. I think it's going to pull back. I think it went from what, like 7 something to 12, so we can expect it to, or 13.56. So it's what, $6 and about $6. So drop $3. That'll be about 10.50. Could have
See,
caught.
it looks like it.
Hmm.
Looks like it had a high at 1364.
13.64. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm reading on TOS.
I didn't know. I thought it peaked out around those levels, but that's what we were looking for, is that it was going to hit those levels and then come down a little bit.
Yeah, you called that yesterday.
So DXY just broke the 5 minute 180. It's taken off pretty well. SPY just broke down below its support level since yesterday. Currently trading at 405.75. The Q is coming down and the IWM is coming down as well, waiting to break its support level. But I know Jeff said he's not trading the markets with us anymore. And then also, like, after talking to Norrock a little bit, watching this video and stuff, I think there's like a misconception of what we're doing here. And um, for the most part, what I was trying to show everybody is how you can make, 100, 150, $200 a day simply off the market swings based off the momentum. And even I think I lost that goal. I should have stayed focused on just making my 150 to $200 a day.
You could
Yeah.
do that with a lot of stocks, so you don't have to do it with just those.
Right, but another misconception is we were using the markets because they have harder swings in order to learn how to use options. And now, for instance, you guys are doing calls on stuff and making money on those as well. So I feel like the lesson was learned, and it's still an ongoing thing as we add more and more to it. But I think we got away from that a little bit. And also, like, if the markets are expected to pull back, it's hard for me to put calls on anything I like as far as stocks, because the market's going to weigh down on that too. There's another thing that was added into that. So there's a variety of things I was thinking about, and I'm seeing if Norak's gonna hop on today. I want to talk to him about it. But yeah, I mean, you can do it anywhere in the market. Looks like this morning, NKLA is trying to move. It hit my scanners and it's seen about 100. What's that? 169 million so far. It's only up 0.32% though.
There's another one that I looked at. It's an autonomous, but it's the Army. United States Autonomy. It's UAMY. It's not
Yeah,
Army.
you Amy. That's
Yeah.
what I call it. I did a video on it not too long ago.
They have an investment call or something after hours today.
Yeah, got you.
So that could take off today.
I'd have to go back to where I was at, like the point
It
I
took
did the
off.
video on. It took off.
It it took off yesterday. Looks like at 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
It hit a high of $1.38. It has options, but of course the options start at 250.
And apparently that's cheap, based on the VIX being low. Yeah, it did. Jumped about 10 cents. Looks like the DXY is still running a little bit. We have a resistance level to get past though, right around the 9240s. I want to see if we can do that. The EMAs are trying to go green on the 5-minute, but it has some headroom before it's stressed out. 10-minute bouncing above the
You looking
EMAs
at the
there.
VIX?
The VIX, yeah, it's down what 7% or something like that.
That's the VIX, right?
Hmm.
VIX.
Yeah, the VIX is
Yeah.
down
I just want to make sure I
3%.
was looking at the same one you are.
Yeah, I was looking at the DXY a second ago, and how it was bouncing above its EMAs on the 5, 10, and 15-minute charts. It should be wrapping up on the 30 as well. Currently trying to break through that 34 EMA now on the 30-minute. But if this pulls up, then we can expect that SPY to pull back. A large gap to fill on the DXY. Even though the 180 is bending back, it's still sitting around 92.88, about 54 cents. So currently, overall, I wish. Unfortunately, it does not seem that anyone is available at the moment. I apologize. Our API support here in Think Swim Chat is limited. I would recommend you email them directly with a screenshot of what you're seeing and any other details you can provide. I want to call them. They're like, bruh, I need this. But yeah, so I wanted to. What I was looking at doing in that regard is adding the DXY, adding the UNTX. DXY was going to provide a score of either 3 or -3, or no, 4 or -4, because it affects all of the markets together. I think it has a lot of weight. All of the indexes, excuse me, and the futures feel like it has a lot of weight. So that'll really gauge our score a little bit higher because we're kind of limited at 11. Like once it tops out at 11, it really can't gauge beyond that. And I wanted to have that in there. And then what I'm gonna try to do is get the API to actually gauge it based on the percentile that it's up or down for that day, so that it's not just a flat 4 or flat -4, but it actually has some gauge to it where you can get a more precise score on it. The same with the indexes too. Like they're maxed out at a 4. If the Dow Jones, S&P, and Nasdaq and the Russell are up, then it's gonna max out at a 4. But like if I can set it up where it's like up 0.5%, up 1%, then it carries a lot, a heavier score. That'll kind of give us a better range to utilize this tool, if we are going to. Even if we're not using this tool for doing calls or puts on the markets or whatever that we were doing in the March challenge, you can still utilize this tool in order to gauge whether or not you're going to find buy opportunities in stocks today, or you know what I'm saying, just for example. And it refreshes, I think, every 5 minutes right now is how I have it set up. So I want to build it where it's available to the members on the website as well, regardless of if it's free or premium. Um, but I have to rebuild it where only I can submit the tracking log on it. And that was another thing I thought about that Norok actually made me think about is how you doing? I see somebody on the YouTube live stream. Welcome. Thank you for being with us. Just saw a vid about the DXY and a 20-year compression zone. Wall Street's bet pushing for a short squeeze on SOS today. But what was I saying? Oh, so I've been tracking the market since November, and I want to pull that information up later today. I'll probably do it throughout the day after we get done with the live stream and stuff, when we switch over to Discord. I want to go through that info and see what it tells me, basically. If anything stands out that I can use as more indicators. You see the news from yesterday about Armo? Yeah, we were talking about Armo all day yesterday. Somebody in the live chat. Yes. Peterbilt just signed their contract. That was part of the 2.26 billion in negotiated contracts that they had set up. So what I want to do with that information from yesterday is take out that amount so that we can understand. Did I say million? I think it was billion. $2.26 billion in the negotiated contracts. Anyways, what I want to do is take out that chunk of the agreement out of the negotiated contracts, and then we'll get an idea of what they still have left in negotiation already. Now, $4 or $5 move off of one partner, and if you can kind of use what that contract consisted of compared to the 2.26 billion, then you can kind of get an idea of, how many other contracts that exist and the effects that they have. If we have, say, 3-4 more contracts sitting in that negotiated bundle or pile of cash, then you can expect a $4 to $5 move on each contract that's agreed upon. So, we're looking back in that $40, $50 range regardless. I'm still sitting there. They're only touching a portion of what actually exists in the market right now. And so getting into it regardless, like even now, it's still cheap. And it's still an early company for one. Love RMO and the opportunity that it provides, not only for me but for everybody else, and especially the members that have joined in on the move and actually capitalized on it yesterday. And there was a lot of speculation on how bad the company was doing after their earnings report, but it didn't sway my confidence. And the fact that it was their first earnings report, that's cool. Their second earnings report is what I'm more interested in, and even more their third, because they were able to lay out what their direction is and what's expected to deal with the issues that they're dealing with. There's apparently a shortage in the EV space for manufacturing the batteries and stuff like that has caused an effect on the numbers that they were targeting for this first earnings report. And so that's the main thing that I took from the conversation and that I wanted to focus on myself. And I suggest that with any company that you're looking at investing in is, if you're new to the company yourself, you haven't really researched anything, go back to their last report, or last earnings. Even more so, go back to their full year recap call and see what their plans are through the next year. And then go through those earnings calls after that and see if they're hitting their expectations. They might be down in revenue or something, but they might be on target with what they're trying to hit or fix or correct in order to build their business models stronger. So definitely something to keep in mind, and a way to do some, it's better to go straight to the horse's mouth about things rather than listening to social media and speculation and stuff like that. In my opinion, just go listen straight to them, and then see what they're having to say and what their expectations are and what they're doing to do it. So Um, One thing that I haven't done, um, I have not looked into FCell like I have RMO. And I'm really interested in FCell. I'm interested in BLNK. There's another one, I think, CPE, Charge Point. Let me make sure that's the right ticker before I mislead anybody. Interested in that. Those two companies for charging stations, RMO, FCell for potentially EV battery manufacturers. Even if FCell even falls in that category or not, I believe they do. Like I said, I need to go do my DD on it. Sorry, guys. Plugs, another one. A little more expensive on plug though. Let's see, where was that? Oh, charging stations, not batteries. CHPT is the ticker for ChargePoint. And BLNK and CHPT, they run neck and neck. Once again, go do your DD on them to feel, you can see which one's a better company for you. Actually, I'm going to look at the fundamentals now just to see how each is performing. CHPT. Which CHPT is not really pushing out a lot of info on their quarterly or their annual, but they're currently down 82% EPS and quarter over quarter, and down 115% year over year. But they have a very high, of course, there's high sentiment on the company. It has a score of 5 on the market cap to common equity ratio, which kind of gives you the investor sentiment on the company. Is why I use that fundamental. Now, as far as BLNK, doing a little bit better, but not green. They're negative 47% EPS growth Q over Q, but they're actually showing their net profit margins to be up 33%. They still have a long way to go before it goes positive. Looks like they're negative about 323 million there. But their market cap to common equity ratio is a 56. It's nuts. They're only a $1.7 billion company. They only have 41 million shares, about 42 million shares available. Their revenue, their current revenue versus their 3-year average is up almost, let me do the math, about 6x. And then their 5-year is almost up about, and that's if I'm even doing that right. Let me see. Pull the old khaki out. 25 divided by 35. 3.5x, excuse me. And then their 5-year is up 13, about 14x. So they're doing pretty well in that regard of revenue. They don't have their net income. That's quarterly, by the way. Let me look at the annual. As far as the market cap to common equity, still sits. Revenue growth, 3.5x over 3-year, and 14x 5-year still sits. Year over year EPS growth is negative 38%. And they're negative 59 cents a share as far as 2020 is concerned. But their sales per share is 49% in growth and has been positive since, looks like 2016. It came down a little bit. Looks like it was going to go negative in 2020, but they actually rebounded. It was 11 cents per share in 2019, 13 cents per share in 2018. So they came down 2 cents, and then they jumped to 21 cents per share 2020. So they're picking up there. Net profit margins are up 28%. Still negative though. About and this is year over year, about negative 286 million. So still got a longer to go. I think that the money coming from the infrastructure plan will definitely assist them to, meet expectations that they have for themselves, much even more their shareholders. So I like them a lot. I was talking about RMO, FCell. I want to look at FCell. I think FCell was pretty much fundamentally sound. Yeah. 337% growth EPS. They're still not negative. I mean positive though. But they are on a growth trend, and they're chopping it down by the year. I mean, 2016 it was negative $21 per share. 2020 it was negative 42 cents, and they're currently sitting at negative 37 cents. So I expect them to go positive probably about 2023, based on their, well, it could be before that, honestly, at this growth rate, but just based on the increments that it's going down right now. And net profit margins are up 5.7%, but still negative too, negative 125 million a year. They have a market cap to common equity ratio of 20.7, and the revenue is up almost 26 basis points off their 3-year average and 32 basis points off their 5-year. So looks good in that regard. I like the company, and it's cheap right now. It was currently $13.85 when it closed. I've been doing calls off and on in the dips on FSL, picking up my equity for free shares on it basically, and looking at it on the 1 hour, it looks like it's primed to pick up a little bit. But let me look on the lower time frames to make sure we're not losing momentum on it. Trade below the EMAs on the 30, that's a concern. It looks like it's pulling back on the lower indicators a little bit. 5 minute, what's that looking like? Trading underneath the 180 on the 5 minute. I want to see that above the EMAs and the 180. The 180 and the EMAs are actually sitting on top of each other, so could do something. Could compress and take off. DXY. So Justin on the live chat said, yeah, Blink performed well yesterday, I believe, too. 20-year compression zone. I wonder if we can see that on here. So that would be, what, 2001? Let's see. I think you're right. Well, I'm pretty sure if somebody noticed this, they're pretty much on point. Yes, it is. Now, this is on the monthly, so this could take all the way into 2023 before it breaks out. Let me see. Let me do this. Down 61 degrees. No, that's not what I meant to do. What I'm trying to do is, let me do this because I see something else that's standing out to me. I don't think that it's actually going to come back down, to be honest with you, because we're actually on the way back up right now. But I think it's going to take some time before we break out of that compression zone. Started in 98. Okay. Oh, 20 plus. Okay, gotcha. Sorry for the misunderstanding. So we got a few people on the live stream. Thank you for joining us. 1998. So one. Yeah, I mean, it still fits the same script that I was running off of before.
Good morning, fellas.
Who's that, John?
Yes, sir. You know it.
How you doing, man?
Pretty good, man. What are we looking at today?
I think it's DXY is trying to pick up. I want to see if it does. I mean, it's pretty much been on the floor for some time now. That being right here, bounced off of that, And then, of course, the RSI we've been sitting on for the past 2 days or so. Or 2, 3 trading sessions, that is, when I say 2 days. Trying to get this thing on our trading log so we can use it on a scoreboard, basically. Talking with TOS, they're telling me I need to email them. I'm about to call them here in a minute. I'm impatient. SPY's down to 405.40. Looks like the profits I'll make off of that pullback will take care of the data loss that I took on it. For the most part, came out of oversold status on the 4-hour. And I don't think we're going, overbought status, that is, correction. Don't think we're going back up. What time is it? 7:40. Let's look at that. Still trading above the EMAs. A gap to fill in that regard. Only a few dollars though, even if we were to hit that level and bounce off of it. But I think it still has some downward pressure to go down. Maybe back to I'm looking for the 396s on this put that I have. Excel making big moves. But 396.43 is the level I'm looking for. And the fact that it's been pressured and pushed up so high, it's not hard to get back there. Once again, I want to reiterate, if you're holding anything long or looking for even swing trades on certain things, I would wait for the bottom of this, wherever it's going to be, before you hop on anything. That's why I'm not pushing any trade alerts myself or getting any swing trades. Outside of catalysts that are expected to happen and stuff like that, that goes against the grain, of course. But for the most part, like what I'm continuing to do and what I've been preaching about is pay attention to the stocks that you like the most and that you expect to perform, and see how they're performing every time these markets pull back. If they're recovering at the same rate that the markets are. And if they're not, then you need to, I feel like, reevaluate what you're looking at and why it's not performing. Not to say that it's not a good company anymore just because of that, but I still feel like there's correction to come and stuff like that, and it hasn't been done. We're even outside. The COVID trend that we've been in has been outside of the natural growth rate that we've been in, and we're now currently trading out of the COVID trend on the SPY specifically. So it's almost like a double top in itself, if you want to call it that. That is where my concerns were raised and why, I did puts on the market. So still sticking with my put from yesterday that I bought. I closed out the other trades because it was, if I kept the trades that I have, they would expire by Friday. I still have the 407 or 405 put on my second account, which I'm using for the small account challenge. I still have that one that expires Friday. I expect to be able to hop out of that today, with it being Wednesday. I was breaking down out of the 4-hour, DXY picking up. Let's see, I have 405 puts on it. And those are about to be in the money here in a minute. I still have a $45 delta on it, so I'm still comfortable with it. The only issue is I have a $31 theta, so it's eating up. The time is eating up my waiting period, of course, to allow for this to move like it needs to. If I break flat on this, that's fine with me, because I can just use that money somewhere else, and just go from there. I know a lot of people are getting discouraged and stuff, and that's fine. I understand. Markets are on steroids, in my opinion, and it's almost trying to battle, almost like battling with a method, for the lack of better words. And I'm not up for it, but interested to see what today brings. I think we were at a -1 the last I looked. I forgot to track the markets at 6:30 as I usually do. It's currently 7:43, so I want to go ahead and do that. Pre-market. Today I'm going to be going through all these logs that we've pulled and see pre-market. I want to get the first pre-market, the market opens, mid-market, and the market closes out of the data that I've been collecting since November. And then I'm going to go in my transactions through my TDA account and find the exact dates for the trades that I made and identify my mistakes from that regard, and then use what we have been practicing to lay it on top of that, and then try to optimize this whole process of what we're doing here so that it's more adjustable. There's more indicators that we can look for. These certain markets are doing this, and then the U.S. markets respond in this way. Another thing that's really weighing down on this is the fact that the VIX is down to 18. It was down lower than this. It was down to like 760 or something like that this morning, or 770. It's back up to 18.1. It hasn't been below 20.1 in a while. It's only done it a few times since COVID occurred. And it looks like it's trying to bend up on the 4-hour, but I don't think it's strong enough to actually pick up unless something occurs to cause volatility to pick up. And for the most part, it looks like it's going to come back down on the 1-hour as well. We've been watching the US 10-year. And of course, we only have so much headspace on the US 10-year, about 34 cents before we hit that 2% target that the Fed is trying to guarantee. But I saw something this morning about Biden stating that the Fed is not going to be able to basically play around like they did with the last administration. So I don't know how that restricts them and the tools that they said they have available if they need to use them type situation moving forward. Biden's doing a lot of weird stuff, so never know. And apparently he's doing stuff without even talking to people about it, or we're just haven't had that discussion yet. So I'm interested to see, what that's going to do on the US 10-year and if it's going to allow it to go higher than 2%. I really haven't looked back to see what its peaks have been. Then you have to go back and look back at like economic events. So I'm going to do that now while I'm with you guys. Yeah, so we've sat at higher than 2% pretty easily. To say that we're going to stay at 2% is like almost a far-fetched idea in itself, if you ask me, because we've traded for the most part with higher interest rates all the way back to 1990s. I'm still going back. I haven't seen 2% before now. So I don't know if they're just trying to lock it in at that 2% to allow for the economy to come back stronger, but it's going to be a hard thing to do, which means we're going to have to throw more and more and more at the stuff in order to keep doing that. But I don't know. I think that was like almost feels like it was I don't know how to put this. Something to hold it back a little bit longer than it will. Almost like a quick brake check on it. But I don't think you can hold this back. I think it's going to come back up higher than 2%, and just because that's where it's been positioned. And as the economy opens back up, things are going to pick back up. More taxes we're going to put on companies. The consumers are going to pay more. Inflation's going to come in. Blah blah blah. So. Really interested to see how that's going to weigh down, if it's going to still weigh down on anything. For the most part, it's been in an overbought status on the weekly for the past, all the way back to mid-February. But it's consolidated sideways. So that's another thing I'm looking for. DXY in itself is still on this. Let me see what this growth trend is. I mean, if you follow the 180, it's pretty simple to see. Let's go from right here. That dip. Oh, this is a US 10-year. But still, trading beneath that growth trend that it's been in. Let me look at the DXY. Find its uptrend too as well. BTC's starting to weigh down. Let me do this and close these out. Try to get some processing power back. Okay. There we go. So see, I feel like that's ultimately why the DXY pulled back the way it did, is because we broke down below this growth trend. And I wish I had identified that before, because that probably was a time, look, that's the 5th, where we broke down like that. So now, I want to see if this is where it stops, and if so, it's our new dip. And we could potentially come back up to the 93s pretty easily. And that's the trend I'm expecting to follow moving forward. This bottom line now. But anyways, I want to see where the SPY is. I'm about to have to take my daughter to school here in a minute. Sitting at 405.49. Q is at 330.12, and the IWM is currently at 223.45. Let's see what the 1 hours look like. I saw that the SPY broke down below its 1 hour EMA on the 13th this morning as well. I want to see if it finds support on the 34, and that sits around the 404 levels, which is fine with me, because if it comes down to that level, I'll at least be in the money on my SPY puts, which will actually put us at, let me do a risk profile on it. Some numbers just came out this morning as well. U.S. trade balance for February was negative 71 billion versus negative 70.5 billion estimates. Prior was negative 68.2 in January. Come on now. There we go. April 9th puts. So if we make it back to, if we can go back to 400 today, we'd be sitting at $238 in profit. If we make it back to 403.37, we'll actually be flat, which is about $1 below that 34 EMA. But like I said, there's gaps to fill between the 400 and 401 and the 395 to 396. It'd be nice to fill that at 400 gap, because we'd actually be up on these about 100 and what is that? Where's that at? We'd actually be up $235 on the trade, which would be pretty nice for our small account challenge, because I think we paid about $250 for the puts anyways. So almost break even around $399 to be safe, or 400 flat to be safe. So that's what I'll be looking for, and it looks like it's breaking down like I expected it to, potentially pull back anyways. The VIX is finally going green for the morning. International equities are currently sitting sideways. The Euro Stocks 50 and the DAX actually hit all-time highs, so expect some retracement just like we did off the SPY there. The VIX is picking up, and copper's down. So, and then the Australian dollar to Japanese yen is actually up, but currently sitting at a -3 going into the morning, and it's 7:54. So I'm gonna go ahead and run my daughter to school real quick. For those of you who are on The live stream, you can join us on our Discord as we move through the day on our Discord call for the rest of the day. I want to thank you for joining us. I think it's Justin on there. Not a lot of people have really been joining the YouTube live stream, but it's just staying consistent. So I'll keep doing it every day at 7:30. Moving forward too, for you guys on the Discord call, from 7:30 to 8:30, I'll have a window. I'll have a 7:30 to 8 o'clock window to do a live stream on YouTube, and then from 8 to 8:30, give or take, I'll have the ability to move over to the Discord, and then I'll be off probably until around lunchtime, where we'll do an update, which is a great time anyways, between 11 and 12, because that's where we see shifts in the markets or whatever. And then market close, I'll hop back in or something for an update from there. Moving forward, that's the schedule starting next week, Thursday of next week. So it'll probably be the week after that. I'll go ahead and push it back, but we'll still at least get to do this, and then probably do like a market recap after hours or something like that. Maybe have a Jack in Stocks or something. I don't know, but just wanted to give you guys an update on that as well. But I'll be right back. I'm hopping off the live